In case of emergency, this is the plenary hall exit plan. For guests situated at the rostrum, the nearest exits are at the north and south rostrum. For occupants at the first floor and front rows of the VIP gallery, the north, south, and main entrance exits are available. For occupants at the VIP gallery, the main entrance and north and south VIP exits are available. For occupants at the second floor gallery, there are exits available at both sides. For occupants at the third floor gallery, there are available exits at the east and west sides. In case of emergency, this is the plenary hall exit plan. For guests situated at the rostrum, the nearest exits are at the north and south rostrum. For occupants at the first floor and front rows of the VIP gallery, the north, south, and main entrance exits are available. For occupants at the VIP gallery, the main entrance and north and south VIP exits are available. For occupants at the second floor gallery, there are exits available at both sides. For occupants at the third floor gallery, there are available exits at the east and west sides.
The session is called to order. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupit, di ka pasisingil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidinig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilig. Lupa ng araw ng waraming pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga atin, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for a minute of silent prayer. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we call the roll of members.
The Secretary General is directed to call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. Honorable Representatives Abalos, Abante, Abunda, Acharon, Asidre, Acop, Adyong, Advincula, Agrao, Alba, Albano, Almario, Almonte, Alonte, Alvarez Jose, Alvarez Mercedes, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante, Amatong, Angara, Aquino, Aquino Magsaysay, Arbison, Arenas, Arrogancia, Asistio, Ataide, Aumentado, Balindong, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Lim, Benitez, Bernos, Bilyones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bongalon, Bordado, Bosita, Briones, Brosas, Buhain, Bulot Begtam, Bustos, Cabredo, Cagas, Kahayon Uy, Calderon, Calixto, Campos, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castro Franz, Castro Jean, Celeste, Chan, Chato, Chua, Chungalaw, Ko Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizalde, Ko Pilar, Ko Juanco Jaime Eduardo Mark, Ko Juanco Mark, Colada, Colliantes, Corvera, Cruz Ambrosio, Cruz Ricardo, Cua, Quaresma, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Dayanghirang, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor, Delmar, De Los Santos, Dimaporo Muhammad Khalid, Dimaporo City Amina, Dionisio, Domingo, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael Carlos, D. Ian Paul, Ecleo, Emano, Enverga, Escudero, Espares, Espina, Estrella, Yudela, Farinas, Fernandez, Ferrer Antonio, Ferrer Juliet Marie, Flores, Fortes, Frasco, Fresnedi, Fuentebella, Galeyos, Garcia Albert, Garcia Dante, Garcia Jose Arturo, Garcia Maria Angela, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Guardiola, Garin, Gasataya, Gato, Goed Christopher, Gomart, Goles, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gintu, Gulyas, Gutierrez, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera, Horibata, Javier, Co Olga Ara, Co Ricardo, Co Wilton, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon Daphne, Lagon Sani, Lara, Lazatin, Lee, Legarda, Libanan, Lim Kay Chong, Loyola, Luistro, Lumayag, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Magsino, Malapitan, Mangawang, Manikiz, Manuel, Marañon, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Mastura, Matibag, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Mercado Revilla, Miguel, Momo, Morden, Nava, Nisay, Nograles Juan Fidel Felipe, Nograles Margarita, Nolasco, Owaminal, Olaso, Olivares, Ongchuan, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Padiernos, Paduano, Paglas, Palma, Panaligan, Pancho, Panotes, Pascual, Peña, Pimentel, Plaza, Pleito, Primicia Sagabas, Pumaren, Puno, Kimbo, Rama, Recto, Regencia, Remulla, Revilla Bryan, Revilla Ramonjolo, Reyes, Rillo, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez Eulogio, Rodriguez Rufus, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Ieda Marie, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Sali, Salimbangon, Salo, Salvame, Santos, Saulug, Silverio, Singson Richel, Singson Ronald, Singson Mihan, Solon, Suwan, Suwansing Horacio, Suwansing Micaela Angela, Suarez, Talyado, Tamayo, Tambunting, Tan Joseph, Tan Keith Micah, Tan Reynolds Michael, Tan Samir, Tan Stephen James, Tan Tambut, Tan Chay, Tan Huatco, Tariela, Teodoro, Teves, Tiangco, Tieng, Tolentino, Tulfo Irwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tupas, Tutor, T, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Uy, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso Tuazon, Vergara, Verzosa, Villa, Villafuerte Luis Raymond, Villafuerte Miguel Luis, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yamsuan, Yap Christiantel, Yap Christopherson, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, Yu Divina Grace, Yu Giselle Victoria, Yulo, Zamora Amparo Maria, Zamora Maria Carmen, Zamora Isabel Maria, Zubiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 234 members responded to the call.
With 34 members responding to the call, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we proceed to the reference of business.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the titles of the bills and resolutions, and as well as the communication and committee reports for referral to the appropriate committees.
Reference of business. Bills on first reading. House Bill 9561, changing the term of barangay officials and members of the SK from 3 to 5 years, by Representative Panotes.
To the Committee of Separates and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 9562, enhancing the financial literacy of OFWs, by Representatives Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Erwin, Yap Edvic, and Yap Eric.
To the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs.
House Bill 9563, requiring any convention, agreement, regulations, or other international instrument on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response reached by the World Health Assembly and/or to be implemented by the World Health Organization to be deemed a treaty subject to Philippine Senate ratification, by Representative Fernandez.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 9564, to amend the negotiable instruments law by recognizing electronic negotiable instruments following standards and security features of electronic transferable records, by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill 9565, modifying the salary grade schedule and enhancing the benefits of sanitation inspectors, by Representative Arenas.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 9566, strengthening the National Nutrition Council, by Representative Mariano Hernandez.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 9567, regulating and modernizing the practice of medical technology in the Philippines, by Representative Mariano Hernandez.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 9568, amending the Magna Carta of Public Health Workers, by Representatives Castro France, Brosas, and Manuel.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 9569, providing monthly maintenance medication support for senior citizens, by Representatives Tulfo Erwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Yap Edvic, Yap Eric, and Tulfo Ralph Wendell.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 9570, regulating the accommodation of pets in restaurants and other food establishments, by Representative Tan Tambut.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 9572, providing for a comprehensive and responsive civil registration and vital statistics system, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, by Representatives Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Romualdez Yeda Marie, Marcos, Asidre, and Co. Angelica Natasha.
To the Committee on Population and Family Relations.
House Bill 9573, providing for the tax and duty treatment of electric vehicles, by Representative Salceda.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 9574, amending the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, by Representative Nograles Margarita.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 9575, providing a pollen detection and management program, creating for the purpose the Pollen and Mixed Mold Monitoring Service, by Representative Bondoc.
To the Committee on Ecology.
House Bill 9576, establishing a regular campus of the Don Honorio Ventura State University in Pampanga to be known as the DHVSU Macabebe Campus, DHVSU San Luis Campus, and DHVSU San Simon Campus in Pampanga, by Representative Bondoc.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 9577, granting the Aklan Electric Cooperative a franchise for the conveyance of electric power to the end users of the 17 municipalities of the province of Aklan, Pandan, and Libertad in Antique and in Damayan, Sapian, Capiz, by Representatives Marquez, Espares, De Jesus, and Dagook.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill 9578, declaring the Siniguelasan Mangroves Park located in Dulong Pulo, Sinibali, Bacoor City, Cavite, an ecotourism zone to be known as the City of Bacoor Mangrove and Ecotourism Park, by Representatives Mercado Revilla, Revilla Bryan, and Revilla Ramon Jolo.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 9579, establishing the Comprehensive Chemical Engineering Law, by Representative Marquez.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 9580, mandating the inclusion of digital skills and relevant technology courses in the educational curriculum, by Representative Villar.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 9581, establishing the e-books for the Barangay Program, by Representative Villar.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 9582, establishing nursery and child care facilities proximate to public schools, promoting access to affordable child care facilities for public school teachers, by Representative Villar.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 9583, to establish a grant program to provide vision care to children, by Representative Villar.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
House Bill 9584, enhancing accessibility in the voting of senior citizens, PWDs, pregnant women, and indigenous peoples, by Representative Villar.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 9585, changing the name of Mindanao Central Sanitarium in Pasabolong, Zamboanga City to Zamboanga Regional Medical Center, by Representative Dalipe.
To the Committee on Health.
Resolution, House Resolution 1473, urging the Committee on Energy to conduct an investigation on the National Power Corporation's disallowance of the Occidental Mindoro Electric Cooperative's availment of universal charge for missionary electrification subsidies, by Representatives Dagook and De Jesus.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1474, urging the LTFRB, Land Bank, and DBP to streamline, simplify, and expedite the loan application requirements and process for PUV operators, drivers, and transport cooperatives under the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, by Representative Lee.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Resolution 1475, congratulating and commending Michelle Daniela Marquez D. for being among the top 10 finalists in the recently concluded 2023 Miss Universe pageant held in El Salvador, by Representative Plato.
The Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1476, urging the appropriate committee of the House to conduct an inquiry on the standard of public infrastructure and public works to withstand earthquakes and other natural disasters and the regulation of the same, by Representatives Tulfo Erwin, Tulfo Jocelyn, Tulfo Ralph Wendell, Yap Edvic, and Yap Eric.
The Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 1477, urging the appropriate Philippine government departments and agencies to extend their full cooperation to the Office of the Prosecutor of the ICC with respect to its investigation of any alleged crime within the jurisdiction of the ICC, including but not limited to the crime against humanity of murder committed in the Philippines in the context of the so-called War on Drugs campaign, by Representatives Abante and Gutierrez.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Resolution 1478, conveying the deepest condolences of the members of the House to the bereaved family and honoring the life of the Honorable Mirna Montealegre Torres, former Mayor of Tigbawan, Iloilo, by Representative Suwan.
the Committee on Rules.
Communications. Letter dated September 25, 2023 of the Governance Commission for GOCC's chairperson submitting to the House a copy of their 2022 GCG annual report.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
Letter dated October 5, 2023 of the SSS President and Chief Executive Officer submitting to the House a copy of the report on the 2022 SSS Consolidated Investments.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
Letters dated October 9, 2023 of the BIR Commissioner submitting to the House certain financial accountability reports as of September 30, 2023.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Various letters and reports submitted by local government chief executives and officials regarding their fund utilization and status of program project implementation of the Local Government Support Fund.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letter dated October 17, 2023 of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity informing the House that OPAPRU's financial report for the month of September 2023 was submitted to the Unified Reporting System and posted on their official website.
To the Special Committee on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity.
Letter dated October 17, 2023 of the BSP Governor submitting to the House a copy of the report to Congress on public sector foreign borrowings approved by the BSP in the third quarter of 2023.
To the Committees on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Letter dated October 18, 2023 of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, President and Chief Executive Officer, submitting to the House a copy of their Corporate Performance Highlights CY 2022.
To the Committee on Energy.
Judiciary Annual Report 2022 entitled Strategy in Action.
To the Committee on Justice.
Annual Audit Report on the Negros Oriental State University for the year ending December 31, 2022.
To the Committee on Public Accounts.
Committee Report. Committee Report 860, submitted by the Committee on Public Order and Safety on House Bill 9571.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the guests of Congressman Filimon Espares from Co-op NATCO Party List, namely the officers of Barbaza Multipurpose Cooperative, Pastor Romel Marcelino, Arthur Espares, Tamar Estar, Alberto Meniel, and Donel Biñas.
To the guest of Representative Filimon Espares, Co-op NATCO Party List, welcome to the House of Representatives. Stay suspended.
Session resumes. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, may we acknowledge the guests of Honorable Maria Fe R. Abunda from the Lone District of Eastern Samar, namely Dr. Albino P. Bandoy, Dr. Gemma Apita, Dr. Jessica Sabalberino.
The House recognizes the guest of Maria Fe Abunda, a Congresswoman, representative of the Lone District of Samar. Welcome to the House of Representatives, Dr. Bandoy, Dr. Apita, and Dr. Sabel Berino. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 9513 as contained in Committee Report 859, submitted by the Committee on Appropriations, and for this purpose, may I request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the said measure.
The Secretary General is hereby directed to read the title of the measure.
House Bill 9513, an act providing additional criterion for the availment of the unprogrammed appropriations, amending for the Purpose Republic Act number 11936 or the 2023 General Appropriations Act.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary status is we are currently in the period of individual amendments. I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Joey Salceda to sponsor the measure.
We recognize the chairman of the committee, Congressman Joey Salceda. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Edsa Lagman for his manifestation.
Congressman Lagman is hereby recognized, sir.
Mr. Speaker, before we proceed to the individual amendments, may I make a relevant manifestation. Yesterday, the sponsor told us if the unprogrammed appropriations are not released on or before December 31, 2023, they would expire and could not anymore be funded and released subsequently. He did not, however, disclose the special or general provision or any budget circular on which his claim was based. Upon verification, Mr. Speaker, there is no special or general provision or budget circular on which this claim was based. Number two, the charters of the GOCCs targeted under this bill are protected in the law, creating them for purposes of remittance of their profit or investment of the investable funds. Mr. Speaker, I think it would be proper and necessary to first amend these respective charters in order to effectuate House Bill number 9513 if enacted into law. Yesterday also, Mr. Speaker, I made a reasonable and necessary amendment to the effect that the viability of the concerned GOCCs should not be impaired or compromised. This was suggested during the hastily called meeting of the committee last Thursday, to which the distinguished sponsor did not object. And yesterday, upon my interpellation, he admitted that at the proper time, this criterion should be included in the bill. Yet, he rejected my proposed amendment. Mr. Speaker, in view of the foregoing, I have decided not anymore to participate in the crafting of this bill. But for purposes of record, I would like to make the following proposed amendment, which I will not officially propose anymore. Members of the House may pick up these proposed amendments. One, as I proposed yesterday, this bill should not prejudice or compromise the viability of the GOCC's concern. Then, next, the following allocations shall be prioritized in the funding and release of the unprogrammed appropriations as a result of the new funding sources identified in the bill or in the act once enacted. One, health services. Two, education services. Three, other social and economic services. And fourth, infrastructure projects and programs. The next amendment is to make sure that this bill, once it becomes a law, shall lapse on December 31, 2023, simultaneous with the expiration of the Republic Act of fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act. And lastly, for grammatical purposes, since there are a number of grounds as funding sources provided for in the bill, additional criterion should be changed to criteria. Just for the record, Mr. Speaker, those are my proposed amendments, which I'm not going to pursue anymore because of the foregoing reasons I already enumerated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We thank the statesman and gentleman and one of the best fiscalizers in the House, the Congressman from Albay, the Honorable Edsel Lagman, and your comments are well noted. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The period of amendments is hereby closed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 9513 as contained in Committee Report number 859.
There is a motion to approve the House Bill number 9513 on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 9513 is hereby approved on second reading. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the session for a few minutes.
Session suspended.
Joey. Mr. Speaker, may I request that we recognize the following persons as guests of Deputy Speaker Yasser Alonto Balindong and Congressman Zia Alonto Adyong. They are Dr. Rubina M. Macabunar, Superintendent of School Division Offices of Lanao Sur. Rowaida M. Ibrahim, President of the Association of Secondary School Administrators of Lanao Sur, and the secondary school principals.
The House recognizes the guest of Honorable Deputy Speaker Yasser Alonto Balindong and Congressman Zia Adyong. Namely, we have in the House Dr. Rebina Macabunar, Mr. Ibrahim, and secondary school principals numbering 40. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Under House Bill number 9084, under Committee Report number 751, as contained by the Committee on Climate Change, copies of which have been distributed to the members. I therefore request that the Secretary General be instructed to read the title of the said measure.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved, and the Secretary General is hereby directed to name the quote.
House Bill 9084, an act declaring a climate change emergency, enhancing resiliency and adaptability to the effects of climate change.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, the period of sponsorship and debate is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the chairperson, the Honorable Edgar Chato from the 1st District of Bohol, to sponsor the said measure.
The Honorable Ed Chato of Bohol is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My esteemed colleagues in this august chamber, I am honored to sponsor House Bill 9084 under Committee Report 751, entitled An Act Declaring a Climate Change Emergency and Enhancing Resiliency and Adaptability to the Effects of Climate Change. This sponsorship is very timely, inasmuch as we are currently celebrating the 16th Global Warming and Climate Change Consciousness Week from 19 to 25 of November 2023, pursuant to Presidential Proclamation 1667, Series of 2008. The Climate Resiliency Act, or House Bill number 9084, seeks to enhance our resilience and adaptability to the effects of climate change in the country. Under this bill, a climate change resiliency and adaptability program shall be developed and implemented to enhance our country's adaptation to the impacts of climate change. It shall have, among others, the following components: open sharing of data amongst the stakeholders, probabilistic climate risk assessment, multi-level educational plan on climate resilience, research on the link between health and climate change, and on critical services such as water, sanitation, and hygiene systems, and how they impact the most vulnerable sectors of our society. Ecosystems protection strategies shall also be pursued under this measure, namely insurance and financing, green-gray solutions or infrastructure, nature or ecosystem-based solutions, urban green spaces, and vulnerability assessments. 14 government agencies such as the Climate Change Commission, the NDRRMC, the PAG-ASA, DNR, DPWH, PhilSA, or the Philippine Space Agency, National Youth Commission, NAPSI, NCIP, among others, to provide relevant information relative to their sectors. The bill likewise proposes a climate change resiliency and adaptability summit to be held on the second week of September of every year for the collaboration of all efforts of the concerned agencies in the preservation and protection of the environment. The said summit shall be spearheaded by the CCC and shall be participated in by various government agencies and departments mandated under the bill. Last year, the Philippines ranked among 193 countries in the World Risk Index. It is imperative upon us to strengthen our resilience and adaptability to the effects of climate change. I urge my fellow legislators to support this measure and earnestly seek this chamber's approval of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my esteemed colleagues.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wished to interpolate, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Period of sponsorship is thereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
Is there an objection? Hearing none. The period of amendments is hereby open. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member, no committee, nor individual amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. Amendments are hereby closed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 9084. I so move, Mr. Chair.
There is a motion to approve House Bill number 9084 on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 9084 is hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues.
Thank you, Congressman Chato. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of business for the day, I move that we consider House Bill number 9134 as contained in Committee Report 757, submitted by the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation. For this purpose, may I request the Secretary General to read the title of the said measure.
The Secretary General is hereby called to announce House Bill number 9134.
House Bill 9134, an act strengthening the mechanical engineering profession, amending for the purpose sections 33 and 34 of Republic Act number 8495, otherwise known as the Philippine Mechanical Engineering Act of 1998.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the period of sponsorship and debate is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Luis N. Campos Jr. to sponsor the measure.
The Congressman Luis M. Campos from the city of Makati and Taguig is hereby recognized.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, today I rise to sponsor and seek your support for the passage of House Bill 9134 under Committee Report 757, which seeks to amend Republic Act 8495, otherwise known as the Philippine Mechanical Engineering Act of 1998. May I further manifest that my explanatory note in House Bill 5674 be my sponsorship speech. Mr. Speaker.
Well noted. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we terminate the sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the period of sponsorship and debate is hereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
Is there no objection? Hearing none, the period of amendments is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee nor individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the period of amendments is hereby terminated.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we now vote on second reading House Bill 9134.
There is a motion to approve House Bill number 9134 on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 9134 is hereby approved on second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of business for the day, I move that we consider House Bill number 9292 as contained in Committee Report number 776, submitted by the Committee on Higher and Technical Education. Copies of the bill have been previously distributed to the members. I request, therefore, that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill.
The Secretary General is hereby requested to read the title of the bill.
House Bill 9292, an act mandating the inclusion of a personal financial literacy course in the technical vocational education and training curriculum of technical vocational institutions and technical educational and skills development authority training centers.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to open the period of sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? The Chair hears none. It is hereby open. Motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Mark Go of the Lone District of Baguio City to sponsor the measure.
The Honorable Congressman Mark Go of the Lone District of Baguio is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker and my dear colleagues. It is with great pride and honor that I stand before this august chamber to sponsor House Bill 9292 under Committee Report 776, which mandates the inclusion of a personal financial literacy course in the technical vocational education and training of all technical vocational institutions or TVIs and technical education and skills development authority or TESDA training centers. Mr. Speaker, allow me to emphasize the urgency of promoting and improving the financial literacy of Filipinos regardless of their status in life. Through the years, our educational system has recognized the crucial role of financial education in building a sustainable financial system and has continuously improved the basic and higher education curricula with the inclusion of entrepreneurship, business, mathematics, and related subjects. However, the same cannot be said for Tibet. There is no financial education for technical vocational students who are immediately engaged in the work or in the world of work in industries here and abroad after completion of short-term diploma or certificate courses. These students and graduates also need to be taught financial literacy to empower them to meet their financial needs and obligations and reach their financial goals. Mr. Speaker, various financial literacy surveys indicate that the low financial literacy of Filipinos, including technical vocational students and graduates. In a global study conducted by Standard & Poor's Global Ratings, the Philippines scored 25% only in terms of knowledge on basic financial concepts and rank in the lowest of 30 of 144 countries surveyed on financial literacy. Likewise, the 2022 Consumer Expectation Survey of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP on basic financial literacy questions revealed that only 2 in 10 Filipinos got a perfect score, while 7 in 10 were able to answer at least half of the questions. With this performance, Mr. Speaker, and the need for strengthening financial education cannot be ignored at this point in time. We can take the necessary steps so that this early our technical vocational students can be equipped with the necessary knowledge and skills on handling their personal finances and making well-informed financial decisions. Financial literacy can also help the students avoid indebtedness and becoming victims of financial scams if they are aware of the red flags and are able to scrutinize the details before getting into financial transactions. Mr. Speaker, this measure mandates all public and private TBIs and TESDA training centers to offer a personal financial literacy course as part of the Tibet curriculum to ensure the provision of the much-needed financial education to tech box students while at the same time help them learn and develop their other practical skills and competencies required by the industries. The bill also specifies that the course shall include the concept of personal finance, time value of money, consumer behavior in the context and culture of the Philippines, savings and debt management, among others. It cannot be denied, Mr. Speaker, that financial literacy and economic development go hand in hand. Teaching our students to be financially resilient can transform them into self-sufficient and productive individuals, and thus contribute more to the economy and in nation building. Thus, I am soliciting your support, Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues, for the immediate passage of this measure. Again, thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Thank you, Congressman Go. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to terminate the sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
There is a motion to open the period of amendments. Is there any objection? Hearing none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual nor committee amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Is there an objection? The chair hears none. The period of amendments and is hereby closed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 9292. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve House Bill number 929 on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 9292 is hereby approved on second reading.
Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, under the calendar of the business of the day, I move that we proceed with House Bill number 9305, contained in Committee Report number 791, under the Committee of Overseas Workers and Affairs, and direct the General to read the title of the measure.
Is there an objection? The chair hears none. The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill number 9305.
House Bill 9305, an act expanding the use of the Legal Assistance Fund and the Agarang Kalinga at Saklolo para sa mga OFWs na nangangailangan Action Fund, amending for the purpose Section 26 of Republic Act No. 8042, otherwise known as the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995, as amended, and Section 14 of Republic Act No. 11641, otherwise known as the Department of Migrant Workers Act.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the chairpersons of the Committee on Overseas Workers and Affairs, the Honorable Representative Ron Salo and Ador Plato, be recognized to sponsor the said measure.
Both Congressman Ron Salo and Congressman Plato is hereby recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. I am honored to stand before you to sponsor the passage of House Bill number 9305, entitled An Act Expanding the Use of the Legal Assistance Fund and the Agarang Kalinga at Saklolo para sa mga OFWs nangangailangan, Action Fund. This bill seeks to amend Section 26 of Republic Act No. 8042, known as the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995, as amended, and Section 14 of Republic Act No. 11641, the Department of Migrant Workers Act. The creation of the Department of Migrant Workers under Republic Act 11641 consolidated relevant government agencies tasked with safeguarding the rights and welfare of overseas Filipino workers and their families. However, it necessitated clarifications and adjustments to existing laws such as Republic Act Number 8042 or the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995. Republic Act 11641 placed under one department all relevant agencies of the government that protect the rights and welfare of overseas Filipino workers and their families. Under the same law, however, the Department of Foreign Affairs retained jurisdiction over the Legal Assistance Fund and the Assistance to Nationals Fund, or the ATN Fund. This proposed legislation aims to define the distinct roles of the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of Migrant Workers concerning the provision of legal assistance to overseas Filipinos. The bill underscores that the DFA retains jurisdiction over overseas Filipinos, while the DMW is mandated to provide legal assistance to all our OFWs. Furthermore, the proposed bill broadens the scope of the Legal Assistance Fund to encompass the filing of labor complaints against unscrupulous employers and criminal actions against individuals in host countries. It emphasizes the accessibility of the Legal Assistance Fund from the initial stages of investigation, detention, arrest, or indictment through the trial process and all subsequent levels of appeal. This legislation also stipulates that the rules governing the use of the Legal Assistance Fund shall be applicable to the agarang kalinga at saklolo para sa mga OFWs na nangangailangan o action fund managed by the DMW for cases requiring legal assistance. Moreover, the bill mandates a DFA to extend legal and other forms of assistance to OFWs in areas without migrant workers' offices or Philippine overseas labor offices. In light of these considerations, this proposed measure is respectfully submitted for the consideration of the August body. At this juncture, may we request that the Honorable Salvador Plato be also recognized to deliver his sponsorship speech.
We thank the party list kabayan, Congressman Salo, for his sponsorship, and we now recognize from the 6th District of Bulacan, Congressman Salvador Plato.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. As a co-author of House Bill 9305 and as a member of the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs that deliberated on this measure, allow me to join Chairman Ron Salo in sponsoring this proposed legislation. House Bill 9305 provides for the Legal Assistance Fund, or LEF, to be made available to the overseas Filipinos from the time of their investigation, detention, arrest, or indictment, all the way to the trial proper and at all levels of appeal thereafter. The bill likewise states that the rules on the utilization of LEF, the Legal Assistance Fund, shall similarly apply to the implementation of the Agarang Kalinga at Saklolo para sa mga OFWs na nangangailangan, or the Action Fund, by the Department of Migrant Workers for OFW cases requiring legal assistance. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the bill provides that in countries and territories where there are no migrant workers offices yet, or Philippine Overseas Labor Offices as we used to call them, the Department of Foreign Affairs shall extend legal and other forms of assistance to the OFWs located in the said areas. Binibigay ko po ang aking buong suporta sa House Bill na ito. Sa dinmarami-dami ng mga kasong maltreatment, illegal termination at iba pang pamamaraan ng pang-aabuso na kinakaharap ng ating mga kababayan, simula noon pa at hanggang ngayon. Kapag naipasa po ang bill na ito, siguradong marami ang matutulungan nating mga kababayan na OFWs. Finally, Mr. Speaker, makukover na ang buong proseso ng isang kaso. And finally, magagabayan natin at matutulungan ng ating gobyerno, ang ating mga mamamayan, simula pagpa-file pa lamang ng kaso hanggang appeal kung kinakailangan. Hindi po tayo lahat abogado rito. Para po sa mga tao na hindi alam paano gumalaw ang batas, nakakatakot po marinig ang salitang kaso, lalo na siguro kung nasa ibang bansa, na isang bansa ka at malayo ka sa pamilya mo at sa gobyerno natin. Thank you to my good friend, Representative Salo, for always looking out for our OFWs. Rest assured that I will support all your endeavors for our OFWs. May I therefore call on my fellow members of this august body to approve this House bill for the benefit of the millions of our OFWs and your families. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Plato. Honorable Salo, Majority Floor Leader, is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there an objection? The chair hears none. The period of sponsorship and debate is hereby terminated. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, we open the period of amendments.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee nor individual amendments, I move that we close the period of amendments.
Is there an objection? The chair hears none. The period of amendments, both individual and committee, is hereby closed. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading on House Bill number 9305, contained in Committee Report 791.
There is a motion to approve House Bill number 9305 on second reading. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 9305 is hereby approved on second reading. Congratulations. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, with leave of the House, we would like to make a motion to open the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the period of the privilege hour is hereby open. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize Representative Mary Mitch Kahayon Uy of the 2nd District of Caloocan City.
The gentlewoman from the 2nd District,
Mr.
Mitch Kahayon, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my motion. Where?
1 minute suspension. Session resumes.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority
we would
Leader.
may we recognize the Representative Erwin Tulfo of the party list ACT-CIS to give his privilege speech.
The handsome gentleman from the party list CIS, the Honorable Representative Erwin T. Tulfo, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, Majority Floor Leader, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, hundreds of millions of pesos of government infrastructures in Sarangani Province and General Santos City were either damaged or turned into rubble, and some simply vanished in thin air after the 6.8 magnitude earthquake in that region last Friday. As of 5 p.m. yesterday, 9 na po ang binawian ng buhay sa 2 lugar pa lamang. Halos lahat po sila ay nadaganan maliban po sa mag-ina sa bayan ng Glan na natabunan po ng lupa ang kanilang bahay. Mr. Speaker, marami po tayong nakitang problema sa pagbisita po natin sa naturang lugar matapos po tayong mapag-utusan ng ating pong Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. Napapanahon na po, Ginoong Speaker, upang bisitahin ang ating National Building Code at iba pang mga batas hinggil sa standards sa paggawa ng mga gusali at infrastruktura hindi lang ng pamahalaan, kundi pati na rin sa pribado. Standard ng mga gusali at infrastruktura na kayang sumagupa po sa bagyo na kahit higit 300 kilometers per hour ang hangin at lindol na hanggang 9 magnitude ang lakas. I am also going to file a resolution within the week to start an inquiry if those infrastructures in Region 12 were built within the building standards. Mangyari po kasi, Ginoong Speaker, yung mga konkretong kalye po doon na nasira, kung wala pong bakal sa loob, ay sinliit lang po ng hinliliit ko o pinky finger ang mga kalsada. Ang mas masakla pa, Ginoong Speaker, ang nasirang pier po sa Glan ay parang pinagtabi-tabi lang ang concrete slabs at walang mga bakal na connector, katulad po niyan, sa katabing slab na para bang mga pyramid ng Egypt. Mapalad po at walang nasaktan o namatay sa pagkasira ng mga pier doon. Hindi po ako inhinyero, Ginoong Speaker, common sense o sentido komon lamang ay gagamitin natin at makapagsasabi na substandard po ang mga proyekto sa naturang lugar. Tila minadali o kung hindi po ay talagang tinipid ang pagkagawa sa mga proyekto na yon. We need to investigate, Mr. Speaker, before it's too late. At baka may mga buhay pa pong mawala sa mga susunod na kalamidad. We have to study, we have to review our building code, kung nasusunod po ba ng mga kontratista natin ang mga proyekto ng pamahalaan, hindi lang po sa pamahalaan, maging sa pribado, Mr. Speaker. Tulad na lamang po ng isang masahista na nadaganan ng kisame ng isang mall sa General Santos City. Nakapagtataka po na kilalang mall sa naturang lugar at tila bago pa lamang po na itayo ay bumagsak na po ang kisame, samantalang mga nasa paligid niya na establishmento ay matibay naman po, Ginoong Speaker. My point, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we have to act now. We have to do something about this dahil paulit-ulit na lamang po kapag may kalamidad, meron pong namamatay, meron pong nasasaktan sa ating bayan. Dapat po ay memorize na natin ito dahil tayo po ay laging dinadalaw kung hindi ng bagyo ay mga lindol. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker. Good afternoon, everyone.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, will our distinguished colleague be willing to yield to some questions?
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may I recognize the gentle lady, Honorable Janet Garin, to give her interpellation.
Thank you very
Honorable
much.
Janet Garin, let's recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for calling me gentle. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, nasabi po ng ating kagalang-galang na kasamahan na tila nakakatuwa at walang buhay na nasawi, subalit ang dagok naman nito ay dun sa ating mga kababayan sa Sarangani. Is this a port? Ano po ba? Is this a port? A port that is ongoing operation?
Yes, port under the Philippine Ports Authority and also the highway within Sarangani. I saw in my two eyes na yung mga kalsada po ay wala po siya mga connector. Yung po ay parang pinagdikit-dikit lamang na dapat sana ay may mga connector ika nga para hindi po maghiwalay. Naturalmente po, kung yun ay walang mga connector, walang mga bakal, so pag umugaho yun talaga maghihiwalay. And that's what I have noticed during my inspection in that area last weekend, Speaker.
Thank you for that, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague. Will our honorable colleague be able to tell us the total cost that these projects has entailed?
The district engineer of Sarangani and district engineer of General Santos City, so far last Sunday afternoon, yung estimate po nila ng damage sa Sarangani province alone is running at around 275 million. 200 million plus sa Gensan. Yung sa Davao Occidental, wala pa po akong figures, and I believe I will have to communicate with the congressman from Davao Occidental, Congressman Bautista. Your Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, hindi po ba kapag government projects or even privately funded projects and privately owned infrastructure, hindi po ba meron supposedly, I just forgot the term, Mr. Speaker, but it has something to do with being earthquake-proof or calamity-proof, di ba meron po yung standards na tinatawag?
Meron po, Ginoong Speaker, meron po tayong sinusunod sa construction standards. Alam po ng mga engineers po natin yan. Sa building, yung building code, meron po yung dapat po to withstand around 190 or 200 kilometers per hour na hangin, gustiness, para hindi po mabuwal yung building. Ganun din po sa mga kalsada at tulay, dapat po it can withstand around 8 to 9 magnitude. Ang tumama po sa Sarangani, lalo na po sa Glan na sa epicenter ay 6.8 magnitude lamang. Pero kung makikita ho ninyo, yung pier doon sa Glan, kalahati noon ay wala na. Nagmistulang parang Atlantis po yung pier, wala na po at hindi na po makita.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, yung po bang pier na ito, gaano na po katagal na nag-e-exist? How many years has this been in existence?
1980s po, yung isang bahagi, yung nawala at nalubog ay ito lamang po 1990s itineo. So ilang taon pa lamang po yan. Pero dapat ho ay hindi ganon ang nangyari, Ginoong Speaker, dahil napansin na natin mukhang substandard na po. Maging ang LGU agreed with us na may problema po sa paggawa ng naturang pier, Ginoong Speaker.
With the statement that it was constructed 1990, will our distinguished colleague agree with me na supposedly kapag ganito mga infrastruktura, ang kanilang lifespan is a minimum of 50 years?
Tama po, Ginoong Speaker. I agree to that. Kahit kasi mga buildings po, mga condominium, dapat po itumagal ng 50 years bago po i-demolish. 1990s po at 2023, wala pa pong 50 years po yan. Kaya lumalabas po na mahina po ang pagkagawa po nitong pier doon sa Glan, Sarangani.
In other words, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, kung sasabihin po natin 50 years, sana po ginawa yan noong 1973. But with the statement that it was constructed in 1990, ang ibig po sabihin nito ay nasa 17 years pa lamang po kung ang lifespan ng project na ito. Tama po ba, Mr. Speaker?
Tama po yun, or more than 17 years, Ginoong Speaker, kasi tayo po ay 2023 na ho ngayon, so more than 17 po yan, mga papalo na po sa mga 20-something years na po yan. Pero ang punto ko lamang po, Ginoong Speaker, we have to review now our building code, at we have to review yung mga standards po ng ating mga kalsada, mga tulay, kasi po tayo ay lagi na pong dinadalaw ng bagyo, lagi na po tayong dinadalaw ng earthquake, halos taon-taon na po, kaya dapat ho, handa na po ang ating bayan, lalo pat inaantay natin yung tinatawag na the big one.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, nasabi kanina ng ating kagalang-galang na Erwin Tulfo na nasira yung pier ng Sarangani. Ang ibig ba sabihin nito, ngayon, hindi ito functional?
Hindi po ito functional ngayon, Ginoong Speaker, dahil hindi pa na-check po na Philippine Ports Authority ang structural integrity ng naturang pier, Ginoong Speaker. Hindi ko lang humatiyak yung mga tulay at kalsada doon sa Sarangani kung ito pa ay nasilip na rin at na-inspect ng ating mga district engineers ng Department of Public Works and Highways, Ginoong Speaker.
So, Mr. Speaker, ang ibig po sabihin ng ating kagalang-galang na Erwin Tulfo ay hindi lang po buhay ang naging delikado dito, kundi pati ang pangkabuhayan ng ating mga mamamayan at ng ating mga mangingisda. At ngayon, we are faced with probably hundreds or thousands or even millions of people whose livelihood has been gravely affected simply because of these alleged substandard projects. Mr. Speaker, kaya po ba tumayo ang ating kagalang-galang na kasamahan dahil double whammy ang nangyari?
Tama po yun, Ginoong Speaker. Mr. Speaker, dahil nga po parang nagsasayang po tayo ng pondo, ay dapat po matibay ang pagkagawa po nito dahil itong mga pondo na pinanggawa po sa mga infrastruktura na ito ay hindi naman po kinugot kung saan-saan lamang, lalo pat ang ating bayan po ay naghihirap din at mas maraming pangangailangan pa at tutustusan ng mga proyekto, Ginoong Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, masasabi rin po ba natin na posibleng problema na naging delegated yung ibang powers ng ating building official?
Tila gano'n na ho. At talagang parang wala hong inspeksyon at hindi po nasunod. Tulad po ng akin nasabi, yung standard po ay hindi nasunod. Base po doon sa mga nakita ho natin at nasaksihan, Ginoong Speaker.
With this, Mr. Speaker, is it the intention of our honorable colleague to call for the review of the building code, including the people who have been delegated and authorized to issue building permits?
Definitely, Mr. Speaker. I would like to the Congress review our building standards code for construction so that we will no longer waste funds in the future because we need funds for other items or programs or projects that is badly needed by our people, particularly in the economic recovery of this nation, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, we congratulate the Honorable Erwin Tulfo for that. And if he is amenable, maidagdag ko lang, baka naman pwedeng idagdag na niya na matingnan yung delegated powers of issuing building permits. Kasi dahil nga na-delegate ito ng Secretary of Public Works and Highways to the municipal engineers or the provincial engineers or city engineers for that matter, tila nagkakaroon minsan ng alleged red tape. Na kapag sila'y nag-a-apply sa baba, ay napapahirapan kung hindi mo kakaibiganin. And I do agree, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, na isa sa solusyon ng problemang ito, ng malawakang problema na ito, ay ang tapang at dedikasyon ng ating kasamahan. Will we get that commitment from our distinguished colleague, Mr. Speaker?
Maraming salamat po sa ating representante mula po sa Iloilo. We truly appreciate it. But Mr. Speaker, like I have said, we need to move now. We need to act now. Bago pa po mas maraming buhay ang mawawala kasi I am very sure 100%. Baka hindi po abutin tayo next year. May mga bagyo na naman tayo. May mga earthquakes na naman tayo. Taon-taon po dinadalaw tayo ng lindol, kaya kailangan po ay nakahanda na tayo, kailangan pong reviewin yung silipin ang mga infrastruktura, hindi lamang po ng infrastruktura ng pamahalaan, kundi mga building na gawa po ng mga pribadong sektor, Ginoong Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, with that, I am out of words except to say that we are privileged to have a colleague whom the Filipino people deserves, and we are privileged that, God willing, we will have the support of the leadership of this House and our Speaker so that problems like this will not happen again. He is a gift not only to Congress, we are privileged, the Filipino women are privileged to have him, the Filipino people are privileged to have him at our service. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, and I congratulate Congressman Erwin Tulfo for his dedication and his perseverance at nakita niya kaagad ang problemang ito. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, distinguished colleague from Iloilo, at thank you for those beautiful adjectives. I really do appreciate. Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Speaker. Magandang hapon po.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Erwin Tulfo as well as its interpolations, to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
The privileged speech of Representative Erwin Tolfo, including its interpolation, is referred to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we briefly postpone the period of privilege hour. Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the guests of the Speaker, Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez, Majority Leader Manuel Jose Manix Delipe, Majority Leader Marcelo Libanan, Senior Deputy Majority
The
Leader.
privilege hour is suspended.
Ferdinand Alexander Marcos, Representatives Yeda Marie Romualdez, Jude Asidre, Jose Manuel Alba, Dale Corvera, and Peter Miguel. The guests of which are the national awardees of 10 Outstanding Boy Scouts of the Philippines, namely Jedrick Romero, Alistair Galieto Jude Capacio, Jason Paul Mendez, J.P. Nelson Sumando, Queen Marjorie Arroyo, Samantha Lorraine Juaco, Ethan Michael Aguirre, John Jasper Luna, Hannah Angela Arribas, as well as other guests, Attorney Cedric Train, Rodolfo Pangalinan, Zion Valdez, Lorena Ladingin, Elaine Pare, and Nixon Canlapan.
To the guests of Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, Majority Leader Manuel Jose Manix Delipi, Minority Leader Marcelino Libanan, Senior Deputy Majority Leader Ferdinand Alexander Marcos, Representative Yeda Marie Romualdez, Jude Asedre Jose Manuel Alba, Dale Corbera, and Peter Miguel, welcome to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume the privilege hour.
The privilege hour is resumed.
Mr. Speaker, next to avail of the privilege hour, I move that we recognize the Honorable Mary Mitzi Cahayon Uy of the 2nd District of Caloocan City.
Representative Mary Mitzi Cahayon Uy of the 2nd District of Caloocan City is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I am honored to stand before you today as we celebrate the National Children's Month with this year's theme, Healthy, Nourished, Sheltered, Ensuring the Right to Life for All. The right to life is a universal and inalienable right. It is our duty to ensure that every child is given the opportunity to grow in a safe and nurturing environment. The mental well-being of our children is intrinsically linked to their right to life, especially in the context of family issues. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, long before the COVID-19 pandemic, the mental health of the Filipino children has been a growing concern. Their right to life is threatened when domestic concerns cast a shadow over their mental health. The family is the most fundamental unit of our society and is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of love, support, and security. However, in some unfortunate circumstances, the family may become a source of anxiety, stress, and even trauma for children, inflicting on them lifelong emotional scars. One example is the stigma attached to children born out of wedlock, which is one of the several family issues that profoundly affect our children. Children born out of wedlock are termed our law as illegitimate children, resulting in these children being discriminated against and treated as inferior. And the sad reality is that these illegitimate children often find themselves stigmatized. These children are the ones who bear the burden of being classified as illegitimate, notwithstanding the fact that the matters that brought upon such quote-unquote label are beyond their control and are beyond their ability to rectify. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, we must keep in mind that the best interest of a child should be paramount consideration in all our acts concerning them. And as such, it is our responsibility as legislators to address this issue and guarantee that all children, regardless of the circumstances of their birth, are entitled to be loved and protected and to enjoy the best quality of life we can provide them. We do not exist in a vacuum, and we should never condone discrimination against children brought about by the circumstances of their birth. Being born out of wedlock does not in any way diminish their worth and their right to a happy and healthy life. Mr. Speaker, my fellow lawmakers, it must be emphasized that the right to life, and more importantly, our children's right to enjoy a happy, healthy, and secure life should never be contingent to anyone's circumstances at birth. Let us work collaboratively to ensure that every Filipino child grows up in an environment that fosters not only their physical safety, but also their mental health. We must exert all efforts to promote the welfare of children and ensure their opportunities to enjoy a healthy, nourished, and sheltered life. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang karapatan ng mga bata.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we refer the speech of Honorable Representative Mary Mitzi Kahayon Uy to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there an objection? Chair hears none. The privileged speech of Representative Mary Mitzi Kahayon Uy is referred to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we now recognize the Representative Arlene Brosas of the party list Gabriela for her privileged speech.
Representative Arlene Brosas of the party list Gabriela is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker, para po sa pribilehiyong talumpati para sa International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Ang International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, o IDVAW, ay ating ginugunita tuwing ika-25 ng Nobyembre. Ito rin ang nagmamarka ng simula ng 18-day campaign to end violence against women. Kasama dito ang International Women Human Rights Defenders Day sa November 29, International Human Rights Day sa December 10, at International Day Against Trafficking sa December 12. Bawat minuto, ang mga kababaihan sa buong mundo ay nakararanas ng iba't ibang forma ng karahasan. Ayon sa ulat lila ng Center for Women's Resources, na itala sa Pilipinas ang 24,635 na iba't ibang kaso ng pang-aabuso sa kababaihan at bata. Ibig sabihin nito, halos may 75 biktima sa bawat araw noong 2022 o 3 biktima kada isang oras. Mula Enero hanggang Marso 2023, nananatili itong mataas sa 6,231 na kaso. Maliit din ang bilang ng biktima ng karahasan sa kababaihan ang nabibigyan ng serbisyong kailangan mula sa Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD. Sa naitalang 12,492 na kaso noong 2021, 1,208 o 9.6% lamang ang nabigyan ng serbisyo ng DSWD. Ayon naman sa 2023 Trafficking in Persons Report, sa 1,277 na tukoy na biktima ng trafficking, 58% o 740 dito ang sex trafficking victims, kung saan kalakhan 86% ay mga kababaihan at batang babae. 490 women, 37 men, 148 ang mga batang babae at 65 ang mga batang lalaki. Ang Pilipinas ay naitala rin sa hanay ng mga bansang may mataas na kaso ng online sexual abuse and exploitation of children o OSAEC. Umabot ng 2 million ang kaso ng OSAEC noong 2022 pa lamang. Ang pinakabatang biktima ng OSAEC ay 3 buwang gulang lamang. Batas na ang Anti-Online Sexual Abuse and Exploitation of Children Law. Kailangan tiyakin ang mabisang implementasyon at kinakailangang pondo para rito. Bawat minuto, tumitindi rin ang opresyon, pagsasamantala at karahasan laban sa kababaihan, dulot ng mga digmaan ng pananakop at militarismo na isinasagawa ng mga macho-pasistang gobyerno o ng kanilang mga minion sa dikta ng mga imperialistang bansa. Tinatarget ang mga kababaihan sa ethnic cleansing at sexual violence upang supilin ang malaking bahagi ng populasyon. Sa kasalukuyan, ang Palestine ang nasa sentro ng masasahol na atake mula sa pambobomba ng mga ospital, eskwelahan, residential buildings at matataong istruktura at sa isinasagawang genocide laban sa mamamayang Palestino ng brutal na pagsasama ng Israel at Estados Unidos. Ayon sa Palestinian Ministry of Health sa Gaza, lumagpas na sa 11,000 ang death toll at tinatayang 7,000 sa mga ito ay mga kababaihan at batang Palestino. Ang bilang na ito ay umabot na sa 70% ng kabuuang bilang ng mga biktima ng pinakamasahol na war crime mula sa Hitlerite Holocaust. Sa Pilipinas, kasabay ng tumataas na kaso ng karahasang sexual ay ang mga iba't ibang anyo ng pasistang atake ng rehimeng US Marcos sa mga kababaihan at bata. Kasama dito ang mga naiulat na aerial bombings sa mga komunidad ng magsasaka at katutubang mamamayan sa kanayunan, maging ang pinaigting na militarisasyon sa mga komunidad ng maralitang lungsod. Tumaas rin ang mga kaso ng extrajudicial killings, pagsasampa ng mga gawa-gawang kaso, iligal na pag-aresto at detensyon. Walang habas na red tagging at ang kriminalisasyon ng dissent sa paggamit ng anti-terror law. At lalo pang titindi at dadami ang mga kaso ng karahasan sa kababaihan dahil sa pagbuhos ng pondo para sa karagdagang base militar ng US sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa. Sa 2024, mahigit 6.3 billion ang gagastusin ng gobyerno para sa konstruksyon at pagmimintina ng mga base militar sa ilalim ng Enhanced Defense and Cooperation Agreement o EDCA, gamit ang pera ng taong bayan. Sa bawat minuto ng karahasan, mayroon ring babae na bumabangon at tumitindig laban dito. Sa kabila ng mga atake, 1 bilyong babae at higit pa sa buong mundo ang ating inaasahang haharap sa hamon ng ating panahon at ipagpapatuloy ang ating pagtindig para sa tunay na kalayaan. Taong 2013 nagsimula ang kampanyang 1 Billion Rising. At hanggang sa kasalukuyan, tayo ay nakikiisa sa pagbangon ng mga kababaihan laban sa karahasan. This coming November 25, Gabriela Women's Party will join the launching of the 1 Billion Rising Philippines 2024 campaign with the theme, Stop the Attacks Against Women and Children, Women of the World, Rise for Freedom. This year, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women will also be commemorated as the Global Day of Action to call for an end to the genocide by the US-Israel against women, children, and peoples of Palestine, as well as the unparalleled U.S.-Philippine state fascism against Filipino women and children. Ngayon pa lamang, November 21, sa ating pagdiriwang ng World Children's Day, actually November 20 po, ang ating pagdiriwang ng World Children's Day, at sa bawat araw, patuloy tayo na maninindigan para sa kalayaan mula sa karahasan, para sa daigdig na malaya sa okupasyon, militarismo, karahasang sexual, at lahat ng forma ng karahasan laban sa mga kababaihan at bata. Patuloy tayong babangon para sa kalayaan mula sa pang-aapi at pagsasamantala. Nananawagan tayo ng pagkakaisa para sa dagdag na nakabubuhay na sahod, regular na trabaho, at pagwawakas ng kontraktualisasyon sa paggawa sa Pilipinas, pagkilos para sa kalayaan ng mga manggagawang kababaihan na mag-organisa at mag-unyon, para sa kalayaan mula sa kawalan ng lupa at hustisya, para sa tunay na reforma sa lupa at proteksyon ng kalikasan, para sa karapatan sa sariling pagpapasya, para sa paglaya ng bawat isang kababaihan at LGBTQIA+ na nananatiling ginigipit sa kulungan dahil sa kanilang pagtindig para sa karapatang pantao at katotohanan, para sa mas magandang bukas para sa mga bata at mga susunod pang henerasyon ng kabataan. Ang mga kababaihan kasama ng sambayan ng Pilipino ay patuloy na babangon at maninindigan para sa tunay na kalayaan. Stop the attacks against women and children. Women of the world, rise for freedom. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to give their interpellation, I move that we refer the speech of Representative Arlene Brosas to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there an objection? Chair is none. The privileged speech of Representative Arlene Brosas of Gabriela Party List is referred to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Franz L. Castro of Party List ACT Teachers to avail of the privileged hour.
The Honorable Franz Castro is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Speaker, at sa ating Majority Leader. Magandang araw, Ginoong Speaker, sa mga kapwa ko kinatawan at sa ating mga kababayan. Milyon-milyong mga tao na sa buong mundo ang nagmarcha upang kondenahin ang ginagawang genocide ng Israel, US laban sa mga Palestino sa Gaza. Hindi noong October 7, 2023 nagsimula ang sigalot sa Palestine. Mahigit na 70 taon nang pinapalaya sa sariling lupa, pinapahirapan at pinapatay ng Israel ang mga Palestino. Hindi tumitigil ang Israel sa pag-atake, pati ang mga sibilyang Palestino ay nabibiktima. Tuloy-tuloy ang airstrike at pambobomba ng Israel sa mga paaralan, simbahan at ospital sa Gaza. Kadalasan, nagiging shelter ang mga paaralan sa Gaza. Ito lamang nakaraang araw, Ginoong Speaker, November 18, napabalita ang pag-atake ng Israel sa 2 paaralan sa northern Gaza. Ayon sa news report, and I quote, Israeli air raids have killed many Palestinians at Al-Fakhora School, run by the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, o yung UNRWA. In the Jabalia refugee camp and another school in Tal Az-Zahatar, also in northern Gaza, and I quote, unquote. The attack on Al-Fakhora is believed to have been taken place in the early hours of the morning, while the attack in Tal Az-Zahatar took place later in the day. Halos 50 katao ang namatay at nasa daan-daan ang nasugatan sa nasabing pag-atake sa Al-Fakhora School mula na mismo sa reports ng Ministry of Health. Itong pag-atake sa mga paaralan, ospital, simbahan at pampublikong lugar ang nagiging trend ng Israel. Malaki ang epekto nito dahil total distraction ito sa mga paaralan at iba pang mga establishmento na hindi mapapakinabangan ng mga mamamayan. Patuloy pa rin ang pag-evacuate at napuwersa pa ang mga mamamayang Palestino na pumunta sa UN-run schools in the vicinity of the Indonesian hospital para sa proteksyon. Ngunit hindi pa rin po ito nakaligtas sa pag-atake. Ang palagi lang sinasabi ng gobyerno ng Israel na hindi ito individual attacks, kundi atake laban sa Hamas. Ngunit sa kabaliktaran ay tinatarget nito ang mga sibilyang Palestino. Dagdag pa sa reports, and I quote, the Jabalia refugee camp has been target of air raids for weeks as Israel claims it houses Palestinian fighters. The deadly bombing campaign has been continuing despite condemnations by the UN and the regional governments, and I quote, unquote. Idadagdag pa ang pag-atake sa Al-Shifa schools in Gaza at ang pinakamalaking ospital sa Gaza, ang Al-Shifa Hospital. Kahit ang mga healthcare facilities at residential areas ay hindi ligtas sa nangyayaring pambobomba. Ayon sa World Health Organization, there are 168 attacks on healthcare in the occupied Palestine territory from October 7 to October 22, 2023. Take note, Mr. Speaker, sa loob lamang ito ng dalawang linggo, 168 attacks. There are 72 attacks in the Gaza Strip which resulted in 491 fatalities and 370 casualties, including 16 fatalities of health workers and 30 injuries of health workers on duty. These attacks affected 34 healthcare facilities and 24 ambulances. Meanwhile, there were 96 attacks in the West Bank, which includes 17 cases of detentions of health staff and ambulances and 10 cases of militarized search of health assets. Ilan lamang po yan sa reported attacks sa mga ospital at paaralan. Hindi ito kaiba sa karanasan sa Pilipinas kung saan nagiging target ang mga paaralan. Noong 2015, kinundina natin ang Lianga Massacre kung saan isa sa mga biktima ay si Emerito Samarca, Executive Director ng Al-Qaeda, na pinatay ng mga paramilitary sa loob ng paaralan. Pinatay din si Dionel Campos at Dato Jovilio Sinso. Lagpas 300 family ang sapilitang lumikas dahil sa insidente. Matatandaan din natin noong 2017, pinagbantaan ni dating Pangulong Duterte na bobombahin ang mga lumad schools. Naghain ng resolusyon ang kinatawang ito, 10 ng ating mga kasamahan sa Makabayan Bloc, ang Resolution 1153 noong 17th Congress, para kondinahin ito. Matatandaan din natin na sa ilalim ng administrasyon dating Pangulong Duterte ay ipinasara ang 55 na lumad schools sa Mindanao. Noong Marso 5 at 9, 2023, naghasik ng takot sa mga mamamayan sa Balbalan, Kalinga, ang indiscriminate aerial bombing and shelling sa mga komunidad, kung saan isa ay sumabog malapit sa Gawaan Elementary School. Maraming bansa na ang kumukundina sa indiscriminate bombing at nananawagan ng agarang pag-iimbestiga sa mga ginagawang target ng Israel sa mga paaralan at ospital. Ngunit nagpapatuloy pa rin ito. Kahit ang UN ay nananawagan na ng immediate humanitarian truce, protektahan ang mga sibilyan at i-uphold ang legal at humanitarian obligation sa Gaza. Ang pag-atake sa mga paaralan kung saan ito ay kinikilala bilang zone of peace ay napakabigat na rason para kagyat na manawagan ng ating gobyerno na kondinahin ang pag-atake at paglabag ng gobyerno ng Israel sa international humanitarian law, lalo na sa attacks on civilians and civilian institutions na klarong paglabag sa principle of distinction. Muli, mariin naming kinukundina ang pagbobomba sa mga eskwelahan, ospital at iba pang mga institusyon. Wala nang respeto sa sibilyan ang gobyerno ng Israel dahil patuloy ang kanilang pag-atake sa mga sibilyan at lalo na sa mga refugees. Kaya nananawagan kami sa Administrasyong Marcos Jr. na kondinahin ang ginagawang pambobomba sa Israel. Ang pag-abstain nito sa UN resolution na nananawagan ng immediate, durable, and sustainable humanitarian truce ay hindi lamang isang pananahimik sa paglabag ng Israel sa mga international humanitarian laws. Ito ay pagkampi sa bawat paglabag ng Israel sa mga karapatan ng batang Palestino sa edukasyon at batayang serbisyo. Inaanyayahan natin, Ginoong Speaker, ang mga mamamayan na lumahok sa kilos protesta sa Nobyembre 25. Suportahan din natin ang mga panawagan para sa ceasefire at lifting of siege of Gaza para makapasok ang mga kinakailangang humanitarian aid and services para sa mga mamamayan ng Palestine. Suportahan din ang panawagan on all parties to seriously address the legitimate grievances of the Palestinian people against the unjust colonization and occupation of their lands. Manawagan ng stop the genocide and just peace in Palestine. Muli, Ginoong Speaker, magandang hapon at sa ating mga kapwa kinatawan. Maraming salamat po.
Majority Leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Honorable Janet Garin for her interpellation.
The Honorable Janet Garin is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ikinakagalak ko po ang pagtayo ni kagalang-galang Franz Castro para magsalita dun sa mga walang boses pero patuloy na nahihirapan sa Gaza Strip. Mr. Speaker, may I ask the Honorable Franz Castro, tama po ba na sinabi niya na ang collateral damage sa gyera na ito ay buhay?
Yes, tama po, Ginoong Speaker, na itong patuloy na gera ng Israel at ng Palestine, ang nagiging collateral po dito ay ang buhay ng kanyang mga mamamayan, both naman, pero sa patuloy na pambobomba po ng Israel sa Palestine, pati yung mga bata, mga kababaihan, at mga sibilyan na walang kamahalay-malay sa gera ay talagang nagiging collateral dito sa gera.
Mr. Speaker, narinig po natin ang sinabi ni Congresswoman Franz Castro, genocide ang nangyayari. And if we look at the definition of genocide, it simply means the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. Does our distinguished colleague confirm this?
Yes, tama po yung definition ng genocide, Mr. Speaker. Totoo naman po na sa ginagawa ng Israel at inaasta ng Israel sa ngayon at kahit na ang UN po, Mr. Speaker, ay hindi mapigilan ang Israel na talagang lipulin ang Palestine. So tinitignan po natin on observation na talagang genocide ang ginagawang ito ng Israel.
Mr. Speaker, narinig po natin sa sinabi ni Congresswoman Franz Castro na mga schools, paaralan at mga ospital ay binobombahan. Nabibigyan po ba sila ng pagkakataon na dalhin lang naman ang ating mga pasyente and transfer to other health facilities outside the Gaza Strip?
Well, ayon po sa report, Mr. Speaker, doon sa mga nabasa nating mga reports na talagang dahil sinasabi ng Israel na ilan sa mga ginagamit na pinagtataguan, yung mga ospital, minsan ginagamit yung ambulance, and even schools ay nagagamit daw. Pero dapat dito sa gera na ito, mas spare ng Israel itong mga school facilities at mga ospital dahil sa nangyayaring gera, ito lang yung pwedeng puntahan, di ba, ng mga sugatan, ng mga nagiging collateral, mga injuries, na mga hindi lang ng mga Palestine, no? Pati yung ibang mga civilians din na nandoon sa Gaza. At kung nabibigyan sila ng pagkakataon na makapunta man lang doon sa mga lugar na outside the Gaza Strip ay wala na po, no? Kasi yung border po ng Gaza ay ito na po yung sa may Egypt na talagang mahigpit po yung pagpasok dito sa lugar na ito na wala po talagang mapupuntahan itong mga sugatan at syempre itong mga bata na kung gusto pumunta doon sa mga schools outside the Gaza ay hindi po nagagawa.
So meaning, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, do we already have an estimate of how many were actually killed in this war?
Well, wala tayong accurate na mga data. Ang mga nabasa lang po natin na mga report and data ay yung mga nabanggit na mga schools at ng mga health care facilities na ilang hundreds na nandito ngayon do sa ating mga nabasang reports.
Mr. Speaker, dahil po hospital ito, natural meron tayong mga pasyenteng either attached to the incubator, dahil premature sila, or attached to the ventilator dahil sila ay critical at hindi makasustain ang kanilang baga or lungs para makahinga. Nabibigyan po ba sila ng karapatan o ng tamang proseso para man lang mailipat at mailabas doon sa conflict area?
Well, ayon po doon sa ating nabalitaan, Mr. Speaker, so sa patuloy po na pambobomba ng Israel, katulad nga naman nabanggit ko kanina, more than 100 bombings in 2 weeks ang nangyayari doon sa Palestine, na tingin natin, sa observation natin, hindi na yan magagawa ng pagkakataon na mailipat yan sa mga ibang facilities kung kailangan. Kaya talaga pong hirap ang mobilization dahil nga doon sa talagang maraming beses ng pambobomba.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, kapag po merong ganitong nangyayari, makatarungan po bang sabihin, pabayaan na lang natin sila? Kasi problema nila yan.
Definitely, Mr. Speaker, hindi po. Kaya po tayo sa Pilipinas, dahil sa nakikita natin mga pangyayaring yan, kaya po nananawagan tayo ng ceasefire para makapasok yung mga humanitarian aid, magkaroon ng humanitarian truce, at syempre, para magkaroon din ng pagkakataon na katulad nito, yung mga schools, yung mga hospitals, mga pasyente, mga bata ay malipat sa mga ligtas na mga lugar. Kasi kung kung nagpapatuloy ang pangbobomba, ay medyo mahirap na mangyari. Kaya po hindi po pwede, Mr. Speaker, distinguished interpellator, na tayo ay nanonood lamang, na pinanonood na lamang natin itong gera na ito. Dapat po ay erase natin ang ating boses, magprotesta tayo dito sa nagaganap na gera at patuloy na pambobomba at simingli genocide, at makapasok po yung mga tulong na galing sa United Nations at iba pang mga organizations na nais na tumulong humanitarian.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, may kasabihan po, you can choose your friends, but you cannot choose your relatives. Sa puntong ito, kasalanan ba ng mga bata na ipinanganak sila sa Gaza?
Well, definitely po, Mr. Speaker, hindi ito kasalanan ng mga bata na ipinanganak sila sa Gaza or pinanganak sila as Palestine. So, bawat tao po, regardless of whatever circumstances na nakapaloob sa kanila, race man yan, religion, or whatever, ay may karapatan po na mabuhay.
Mr. Speaker, will our distinguished colleague be aware how long has the Gaza Strip been in existence?
Ayon po doon sa ating kasaysayan, sa nabasa ko lang, matagal na po ito. Actually, itong mga kalupaan na to ay earlier than 1927 ay nag-exist na ang Palestine. sa lugar.
In other words, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, lahat tayo hindi pa ipinanganak at lahat tayo nung kapanahonan na yon ay tila puro pa virgins. Meron ng mga tao na wala silang choice kundi lumaki, ipanganak, magkaanak at magkaroon ng mga apo sa lugar na iyon. Will our distinguished colleague affirm this, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, tama po nag-exist na po ang Palestine before 1927 ayon sa mga ulat ng kasaysayan.
At sa puntong ito, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, kapag ikaw ay pinanganak ng lolo, ng lolo, ng lolo, ng lolo mo, ikaw ba ay may karapatan? Or do you have an option to reside in another country?
Well, kung ako po, siyempre kung ikaw ay pinanganak sa isang bansa na ituturing mong iyo, pag-aari, no? So, kailangan, may karapatan ka na mabuhay sa lugar na yon. Kahit halimbawa tayong mga Pilipino na ipinanganak dito sa Pilipinas, karapatan natin na mabuhay, magkaroon ng magkaanak or magkapamilya dito sa sariling bansa. Kaya yun po yung pinaglalaban actually ng mga Palestine, yung yung self-determination at yung karapatan na i-occupy at manirahan doon sa kanilang lupang kung saan sila sinilang.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, hindi ko po kabisado yung protocol ng mga pinapalabas, nag-exit sa border. But if my memory recalls me right, in the news, it says it's limited to foreigners. But how about those who have been residing, born in Gaza? Are they allowed to get out?
Well, ayon po dun sa napag-alaman natin, Mr. Speaker, kahit na po nung yung nag-meeting po tayo sa DFA noon, nagbigay ng briefing ang DFA, and even po yung mga civilian na Palestino na wala naman pong kinalaman or hindi naman sila mga combatants, ay ayaw palabasin ng Gaza Strip o dun sa border ng Gaza at saka ng Egypt. So yun po yung nakakalungkot, Mr. Speaker. Parang kapag ikaw ay Palestino, whether bata ka or father mo ay hindi pwede na makalabas. So yun po yung alam
sabihin,
natin.
Mr. Speaker, let's say, I am a 6-year-old child. I was born in Gaza, grew up in Gaza, lived in Gaza, nangyari ang giyera. Will you consider me harmful simply because I was born in Gaza? Or will you give me that prerogative to cross and possibly seek another family? Live a normal life, of course. Pagkatapos mong pagdaanan yung tinatawag natin na mental and psychological debriefing after experiencing war. Kung ako po ay 6 na taon, o sabihin na natin 7 taon, will I be considered harmful so as to plan a counterattack if I will be given that option or that opportunity to cross the border and live in another country?
Yes, isang bata ay hindi naman natin sila mako-consider na dangerous at may threat, 'di ba, ang mga kabataan. Kaya dapat siguro ako sa palagay ko dapat ay spare itong mga kabataan, itong mga bata sa ganitong mga consequences ng giyera at payagan sila na makakross doon sa border at makapamuhay. May mga instances po na kahit na mga kababayan natin na merong asawang Palestino at may mga anak na Palestine ay hirap din na makatawid doon sa Gaza Strip, doon sa kabilang border. So yun po yung naging problema. Kaya kailangan po talaga natin ng tulong para sa kanila.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, narinig po natin, have you heard about white phosphorus?
Pardon?
White phosphorus.
White?
phosphorus.
Parang hindi ako...
Nagkaroon po kasi ng mga aligasyon at tila nakita ng ibang at mga medical practitioners at sabihin mo na ako bilang isang doktor, magdududa ka rin na kasama doon sa mga bomba na ginamit ay ang component na white phosphorus. And for the information of our distinguished colleagues, Mr. Speaker, yung white phosphorus po ay kayang tunawin ang isang metal. Kaya niyang tunawin yung microphone na ito. Kaya kung napunta yon sa balat ng tao, minsan akala mo, superficial lang. Pero sa ilalim, malalim po ang sugat na kaya niyang gawin. Mabilis siyang makabulag, mabilis siyang makakos ng respiratory distress, mabilis siyang makamatay. And I was not there, I am not there, but the doctors who are there can actually see with their own clinical eye the impact of white phosphorus. Sa pananaw po pa, Mr. Speaker, ng ating kasamahan, ito ba ay makatarungan?
So ito po ay doon po sa description ng ating kasamahan, Congresswoman Garin, Mr. Speaker, dito sa white phosphorus na ito ay dangerous and fatal. So hindi ito makatarungan na ginagamit sa gera. Dahil indiscriminate din ito kapag ito ay pinasabog or pinapunta sa human body. So kung ito po yung magiging epekto ay talagang delikado po ito, lalong-lalo na dun sa ating mga bata. Okay? At kinukundina natin yung paggamit ng mga ganitong mga weapon of mass destruction. Kasi I consider din, Mr. Speaker, this is a weapon of mass destruction. Kasi ayon sa description ng ating kagalang-galang na Congresswoman Garin, ay kung ito ay ganito ang mangyayari, ay talagang talagang malilipol, di ba, ang mga tao kung gagamitin ito.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, ang white phosphorus kasi, hindi lang po burns ang kaya niyang gawin. Superficially and even deep, it can cause burns, pero ang isang malaki niyang epekto are actually metabolic impact or metabolic disorders. Ibig sabihin, yung balanse ng katawan mo sa loob ay gagalawin niya para yung tao ay magkaroon ng either heart failure or liver failure or renal failure. In other words, the intention to kill is there. So, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, kapag may pangyayaring ganito, makatarungan po bang tumahimik lamang?
So hindi po makatarungan na manahimik lamang tayo. Kung tinutukoy ng ating distinguished interpreter, Mr. Speaker, ay kung tayo bang mamamayang Pilipino, ay hindi pwedeng tumahimik na lamang tayo sa mga nangyayaring ganito. Kasi baka mangyari din yan later on sa atin, di ba? Kaya yan po ay dapat na kondinahin at dapat po tayong magprotesta sa mga ganitong paggamit ng distraction sa mga sangkatauhan.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleague, I would like to congratulate Congresswoman Franz Castro. We might disagree on many matters, but when it comes to saving lives, especially children, I salute her advocacy and her perseverance in calling for such. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, at maraming salamat sa ating kagalang-galang na kasamahan.
Mr. Speaker, nagpapasalamat din po ako dun sa ating kasama, Congressman Janet Garin, kasi sa bawat encounter po natin ay may natututunan tayo. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the Honorable Congressman Zia Alonto Adjong for his interpellation.
The Honorable Zia Alonto Adjong is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader. I have a very few simple questions. Will the good sponsor accommodate this representation?
May pleasure, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gusto ko lang pong malaman sa ating kagalang-galang na sponsor, ilan ho ba, ito po ang conflict na ito na nakikita natin ay nagsimula noong October 7. Sa palagay po niya, ilan po yung mga naging biktima na po, bilang ng biktima ng mga bata at kababaihan, simula po nung October 7 sa taong ito? May tala po ba siya?
Well, since October 7, Mr. Speaker, wala po tayong eksakto na mga bata na naapektuhan, whether namatay or na-injure dito sa gera na ito o pambobomba. Pero makikita natin sa mga reports, sa mga balita na napakarami po na bata ang mga casualty dito sa gera na ito. Dito sa pagsimula ng pambobomba ng Israel sa Gaza mula noong October 7.
Mr. Speaker, meron na pong tala na humigit kumulang 12,000 plus na mga civilian po ang sa Gaza Strip ang naitalang namatay dahil sa karahasan na nangyayari ngayon sa Gaza Strip. Ito hong mga reports na ito, almost half of the data that we have learned, and it is already out online, tala po ito ng United Nations. Almost half of the data ay mga kabataan po. In fact, 3,000 of them ay sabi nga po kanina, nakikinig po tayo sa mga katanungan ni Congresswoman Garin, karamihan po ito ay mga infant.
Yes.
Sa palagay po niya, Mr. Speaker, ang ating galang-galang na sponsor, meron po ba, dahil itong tala na ito ay verified by the United Nations, meron po bang nilabas ang United Nations na kanilang official na statement regarding the war or the genocide, as the good sponsor described it, na nakikita po natin sa Gaza? May nilabas po bang official na statement ng ang United Nations regarding this in relation to the more than 12,000 civilians perished and died due to bombings and airstrikes by the Israeli Air Force?
Okay, so Mr. Speaker, distinguished interpellator, mula po sa may tinanong kayo kanina na sa report po na nakita natin dito, there are 7,000 po na mga babae at mga children ang namatay dito sa Gaza. So more kagaya ng sinabi niyo, 12,000. Sa bahagi ng sa bahagi ng United Nations, parang wala pa po yata akong narinig na official na statement kaugnay nito, Mr. Speaker, maliban doon sa sinasabi nila na magkaroon sana ng humanitarian truce na naging subject po ng sa General Assembly, kaugnay doon sa magkaroon sana ng humanitarian truce dito sa nangyayari sa Palestine at Israel.
Mr. Speaker, over the past 40 days, Israeli airstrikes have killed more than 5,000 children in Gaza, with an additional 1,800 children missing under the rubble of destroyed buildings. Saka sa mga panahon ito, meron pa po silang nire-rescue na mga na-trap doon sa mga rubbles ng mga nasirang gusali, na karamihan po ay mga kabataan, amounting to 1,800 children. That is more than 6,800 Palestinian children killed over the period of 40 days. And it amounts, Mr. Speaker, to 170 children killed each day. Bawat araw po, ang estimate ng ating United Nations ay 170 na children ang namamatay. I ask this, Mr. Speaker, to our good sponsor dahil lumabas po kamakailan ng ang United Nations describing the hostilities that is happening in Gaza as the graveyard of children. Yan po ay nilabas ng United Nations describing the situation, the dire situation now happening in Gaza. Dahil ang karamihan po sa mga biktima ay yung mga inosenteng sibilyan, lalong-lalo na po yung mga kabataan na ngayon, sabi nga kanina, ang naging kasalanan lang ay pinanganak sila sa Gaza Strip at ang kanilang mga magulang ay mga Palestino. Sa aking panghuling katanungan lang po, para ma-expound po natin itong discussion na ito, itong nangyayaring giyera or hostility sa Gaza, guys ko lang pong tanungin, aking panghuling tanong sa ating kagalang-galang na sponsor, meron po bang humanitarian aid sa ngayon, despite po yung clamor and yung effort that we have seen and we are seeing from countries all over the world, yung paglalabi po nila at to add pressure, the international pressure, para mabuksan po yung Rafah border nila sa Egypt. Meron po bang naipasok o nakapasok na po na humanitarian aid mula sa mga international countries? I believe Japan is one of the as a country in the Pacific who have already gestured to the international community that they will be providing assistance. I think it's $6 billion or dollars. Nakapasok ho ba itong mga humanitarian aid and assistance sa Gaza simula pong nagkagyera? Particular po doon sa mga sinasabi po ng ating kagalang-galang na sponsor na mga para sa kababaihan at sa mga kabataan na naipit sa gyerang ito?
Well, sa ngayon po, thank you po dun sa information na nabasa ko din talaga. Nabasa ko rin yung statement ng UN na yung shocking na sinabi nila na graveyard ng children ngayon ang Gaza. So based dun sa kanilang assessment. At sa ngayon, yung mga humanitarian aid, lalong-lalo na po dun sa ating mga dun sa ating mga bata, yung ating mga kababaihan ay nahirapan po na talaga na makapasok dito sa Gaza Strip, no, dahil sa patuloy nga po na mga pambobomba. Kaya dapat po dahil din sa hundreds na, Mr. Speaker, yung nagaganap ngayon na mga protesta sa iba't ibang mga bansa laban dito sa patuloy na pambobomba ng Israel sa Gaza. At dapat ito yung mag-push sa ating mag-push doon sa ganitong pangyayari na makapasok yung mga humanitarian aid. At kung pwede ay ma-spare or mailabas dito yung ating mga kabataan, yung mga kababaihan, yung mga civilian, okay, na naiipit dito sa gera.
Mr. Speaker, panghuli na lang pong manifestasyon. Gusto ko pong I join my colleague, yung kanina pong interpellator, Congresswoman Janet Garin, and extending my appreciation to the good sponsor for enlightening this body in this House on the current situation in Gaza, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, according to the British Humanitarian Organization, Oxfam, it has declared that due to this aggression committed by the Israeli Defense Force, the denial of humanitarian access, it has become apparent that starvation was also being used as a weapon of war against civilians in Gaza. That the UN Relief, Mr. Speaker, and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees has noted the conditions now in Gaza are inhumane and will continue to deteriorate as days go by. 717 na po, 1,000 na mga internally displaced people ang nakita po na umalis, that they are forcibly displaced because of this war, and most of them are children. Nakikisa po ako sa panawagan ng ating kagalang-galang na sponsor upang magkaroon po ng ng posisyon ang ating gobyerno, ang Pilipinas, na to add onto the pressure, the international pressure, for ceasefire to be declared in the Gaza Strip so that humanitarian aid will come in para hindi po sa lalong madaling panahon, hindi pa po madadagdagan yung numerong namamatay ng mga sibilyan sa Gaza, babae, kabataan, at yung mga elderly po. Marami pong salamat and again, I congratulate our good sponsor for standing up and informing this body that we need to make a stand for the ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you po, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member who wishes to interpret, I now move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Franz Castro, as well as the interpellations of the Honorable Garin and the Honorable Adjong, to the Committee on Rules for appropriate action.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The privileged speech of Honorable Castro, including its interpellation, is referred to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we terminate the privilege hour.
The privilege hour is terminated. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, considering that copies of Journal Number 30 dated November 13, 2023, Journal Number 31 dated November 14, 2023, and Journal Number 32 dated November 15, 2023 were already distributed to the members, I move to dispense with the reading of the said journals. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to dispense with the reading of the aforementioned journals. Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved. The reading of the said journals is dispensed with.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve said journals. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve the said journals. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is carried. Journal number 30, dated November 13, 2023. Journal number 31, dated November 14, 2023. And journal number 32, dated November 15, 2023 is hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the change of referral of House Resolution numbers 1393 and 1477 from the Committee on Justice to the Committees on Justice and Human Rights.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to include additional co-authors to House Bill numbers 940, 9471, 9472, 9473, 9474, 9475, 9476, 9477, 9478, 9479, 9480, 9481, 9482, 9483, 9484, 9485, 9486, 9487, 9488, 9489, 9490, 9491, 9492, 9493, 9494, 9495, 9496, and 9506, as contained in the list to be submitted by the Committee on Rules.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we adjourn session until tomorrow, Wednesday, November 22, 2023, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The session is adjourned until tomorrow, November 22, at 3 p.m. Malakas pag-adjourn, no?
Mga Bisaya. Yeah, it's okay, no problem.